I feel like it's no secret that AI has had a pretty negative effect on the crochet community as a whole, from major yarn companies promoting AI crochet on their social media to smaller designers having their artwork virtually stolen. The list of complaints about AI in the crochet space is pretty lengthy. Lately, it seems like every time I'm scrolling through Etsy or Pinterest, I am coming across these AI generated crochet patterns and images, and I know I cannot be the only one. And to be quite honest with you, what is equally as concerning to me is the amount of Etsy sellers that are using AI generated images to promote their crochet patterns on Etsy. And not only this, but I noticed that Etsy is favoring some of these AI crochet pattern listings by giving them a badge that says Etsy's pick on it. So you might be able to tell that this is pretty frustrating to me because I know firsthand how many talented crochet pattern designers there are out there who pour their absolute heart and soul into their craft to make the most amazing crochet patterns. So that's exactly why I want to do some boots on the ground journalism into the messy world of AI crochet today. Today, we are on a mission to try an AI crochet pattern together and see how it actually compares to the photos. We're going to be following the pattern exactly as instructed, and then we're going to review it based on the following criteria. 1, does the listing look like the photo? 2, is it well written? And 3, maybe most importantly, do I like how it looks? When I was planning out this video, my original plan was to purchase one of these patterns on Etsy, but over time I realized that I don't really want to give those sellers my money. So I thought, better yet, let's head over to Pinterest and scroll until we can find a free amigurumi crochet pattern that is clearly made with AI. And don't worry, this took me all of 2 minutes to find the perfect project for us, and honestly, I had a lot to choose from. So I decided to go with this monkey because I honestly thought he was pretty cute. I think he's going to be the perfect project for us today, and this image is clearly AI generated. If you have some experience crocheting, you can tell just by looking at this image that a lot of these details don't make sense and some of the features aren't possible with crochet. So just for example, if you're looking at the stitches between the eyes, they're going in a different direction than the ones around the eyes, yet there are no increases and it's all in one piece. To create a shape in amigurumi, you either need increased stitches or decreased stitches. So looking at this piece and seeing that there are neither of those stitches, that's a pretty good indicator that this is simply not possible. And really quickly, before we start crocheting our monkey, I just want to say that my purpose for creating this video is to educate about AI crochet and how it can harm smaller independent crochet pattern designers and also the consumer, because they're often misled by these images into purchasing a pattern that looks nothing like the finished project. So once we finish our AI crochet monkey, we are going to go over some tips you can use to spot AI crochet and potentially save yourself from getting caught into the AI crochet scam that is taking over Etsy and Pinterest. And at the very end of the video, I've also created a little AI crochet quiz, and I'm going to quiz you and see if you can tell which images are AI and which are real. And I'm honestly very excited. So let's go ahead and get started on our monkey. One of the first things I'm noticing while I'm working on this is that there's no decrease for the neck. In the picture, I'll put it up here, but you can see that the head and the body are separated and it goes in for the neck, if that makes sense. That doesn't happen in the crochet pattern, so we're not off to a great start. I will just say that. A few other things I'm noticing off the bat is that there's no instruction on where to place the safety eyes, and there's also no decrease in the bottom. And if you followed the instruction, you would basically just be leaving the bottom open with the stuffing hanging out. So I think what I'm gonna do is improvise and kind of just sew it shut, I guess, like you would normally. So I know I said I'm following the pattern to a T, and I'm already giving it the benefit of the doubt here a little bit, but we're just gonna have to see. Okay, one other thing is that in the image, they use light brown for the face, like the little mask. So now it's telling me to start working on the face, but now I have some more issues, okay? It's telling me to use white, which, okay, is fine. I can do that, I can handle that. But it's also telling me to crochet an oval. I kid you not, the instructions literally say crochet an oval. And luckily at this point in my crochet journey, I know how to do that without instructions, but I'm thinking back to myself a year ago and I would not know where to start with crocheting an oval. And I'm also pretty sure if you put 100 people in a room who know how to crochet and you ask them to make an oval, you would probably get 100 different results, because depending on how long of a chain you make, you can have a huge oval, you can have a really small one. It's just not ideal. So that's where we're at so far, but we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna check back in with you when I finish the little monkey and we're gonna do our review. So I finished the little monkey pattern. I think you're gonna be pretty surprised at what he looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and show him to you now. What do you think? Do you think he looks like the picture? This is so crazy. I really don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. I thought it would at least have some resemblance, you know? I thought it would be at least a little bit better than this. But in a weird way, I actually do kind of love him. I'm not sure if he's a monkey, but he's doing his best. I really was hoping he'd at least turn out a little bit better than this, but I feel like this really does just prove my point and all the issues that come with AI crochet and how misleading this can be, especially for new crocheters who don't exactly know what they're looking for when they're identifying AI images. Because as you can imagine, if you were crocheting and you saw this image and you ended up getting this, I'm sure you would be a little bit more than disappointed with this. When I showed this to my husband, he asked me if it was an Among Us character. And I kind of see it a little bit. It looks a little bit more like an Among Us character than it does a monkey. Let me know in the comments what you think we should name him. I kind of want to keep him because he's so funny. But now comes the unfortunate moment where I have to review this pattern. So if you remember, I mentioned that I have 3 criteria that I'm gonna use. And the first is, does it look like the photo? I have to give it 0 out of 5 stars. I really can't even give it 1 star. I mean, just right off the bat, the photo has a head and a body, and this is literally like a little hot dog body. And in the photo, it also has a nose and kind of like some face shaping. The ears have little lighter spots in the center of them. The pattern doesn't have any of that, so it really is pretty misleading. The second criteria was, is it well written? And I'm a little bit more torn on this one. I think I'm gonna go 2 out of 5 stars because most of the instructions that were actually there were well written, but the problem is the pattern lacked a lot of instructions. Like, for example, it told me to just make an oval for the face. It also said for a tail to just chain until you reach a tail length, which is pretty vague. So the pattern definitely lacked instructions in some area, which is why I'm giving it a low score there. And then the last deciding factor is, do I like how it looks? And I'm kind of torn on this one because if you're new to the channel, you should probably know that I kind of have this affinity for not so cute things. I sort of love them and I have a soft spot in my heart for them, and this definitely falls into that category. You don't quite know what he is, but for some reason you just want to love him. That's how I feel about this thing. And I know I'm gonna hold on to it because I just kind of love him for some reason. So I would say I give him like a 3 out of 5 stars. It definitely doesn't look like a monkey, but I love him regardless. He's just like a little Among Us bear thing. I really don't know, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt with a 3-star rating there. So overall, would I recommend this pattern to anyone? Absolutely not. It is completely misleading and it really does feel illegal that things like this even exist. In my opinion, it simply should not be allowed to be able to market something like this that ends up looking like this. It really does seem very unfair to the consumer, in my opinion. Let's quickly talk about some ways that you can identify AI crochet generated images or patterns, and hopefully this can help prevent you from having to create something like this unintentionally. I recognize that for newer crocheters, it can be much harder to be able to identify things like this, and so I really want to gear this towards newer crocheters, people who are less experienced with reading crochet patterns and looking at images of crochet. So right off the bat, the common theme that almost all AI crochet images have in common is that they almost appear super detailed but lack any detail at all. All the stitches in the pattern seem to have sort of a blur over them, making them look really smooth and seamless, whereas when you look at pictures of crochet in real life, it just doesn't appear that way. And so to the untrained eye, this might take some getting used to be able to distinguish between both of them, but I'm confident you can do it, and I'm gonna put you to the test in a minute here. The next tip I have for spotting AI crochet is if the stitches don't look possible. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the face on the monkey sort of had some crochet that I knew I could not replicate if I wanted to, because stitches were going this way, they were also going this way with no increase or decrease, and that immediately told me that this is not something that can be replicated with crochet. I think if you're newer to crochet, it can also be helpful to try to attempt to identify the stitch that is being used when you are looking at an image. Not only will this help you get a better idea of all the different types of stitches that you can use in crochet, but it also can help you distinguish if an image is created with AI, because a lot of times the stitches won't make sense when you are looking at those images. Likely with a little practice, you'll get pretty good at being able to distinguish between the two. The nice thing about AI is it certainly does have a look to it that is pretty noticeable. So now that I've given you some tips on how you can start to identify AI crochet, I think it would be fun to do a little quiz and we can see if you can guess which images are real crochet and which ones are AI crochet. So I'm gonna pop an image up on the screen. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to decide whether or not you think it is as real or AI, and then I'm gonna give you the answer. Make sure to keep track of how many you get right and then drop your results in the comments. Okay, so I have 6 images on my phone. I'm gonna go ahead and show them to you, and you're gonna tell me whether or not they are real or AI crochet. So starting off strong, this one might be a little bit easier. We have this cat. He almost looks like a Maine Coon. Let me know what you think before you make your guess. If you guessed AI crochet, you would be correct. This is definitely an AI crochet image. This would be nearly impossible to try to actually create if you just look at the mane and the detail in those stitches. That's just not possible and doesn't even really make sense. Okay, number 2, here he is on the screen. Let me know what you think. It's pretty cute. Okay, if you guessed AI crochet, you would be correct. I feel like this one is pretty obvious too. When you really look at that swirling piece here on the head, it just really doesn't make sense. Okay, here we have number 3, this really cute dragon. Let me know what you think. If you guessed real crochet, you would be correct. This is a real crochet dragon, and it really is beautiful. This pattern is so cool and very detailed, but you can tell by looking at it, everything makes sense. I can see how they put this together by looking at it. Next, we have Stitch. Let me know what you think. I feel like this one is pretty easy too, but if you guessed AI crochet, you would be correct. And last but not least, we have this really cute little snail. Hopefully you guessed real crochet, because I am proud to report that this little cutie is real crochet. I love this little snail, so I had to include him here. But hopefully that little quiz gave you kind of an idea of how well you personally are able to identify AI crochet. I really do think it's important to be able to identify AI crochet because it helps inform us as the consumer into knowing what we are supporting or purchasing, obviously. Now, we've spent this whole video talking about AI crochet and why it's bad and why we don't want to support it, but I also want to talk about what we can do about it and other alternatives we have to using AI crochet patterns. And obviously the first is supporting the small independent crochet pattern designer. I know so many amazing designers, and so I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to create a Google Doc and share them all in the description below. So I'm going to share all of my favorite crochet pattern designers, and there's a lot of them because I love everybody, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share their profile, and then I'm going to share my personal favorite pattern of theirs so that you can know with full confidence that these are reputable, amazing designers I stand behind, and their patterns are amazing, and they're most certainly not AI. And I think the second part of this is pretty obvious, but the best thing that we can do as crocheters is not use AI in our own pattern listings and not purchase patterns that are created with AI. And the best way to do that is by making sure you know what is AI and what isn't, because there are so many amazing crochet patterns out there that are made by talented designers and are so well written, it's honestly not needed. So I really hope you found this video informative and helpful, and you enjoyed watching me make my little monkey. I had so much fun filming this, and I love this topic. I think it's so interesting to talk about. This is definitely a little bit different than my normal content here on the channel, so I would love to know what you think about this video. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!